Hello and thank you for joining us on the Capitol Report. I'm your host, Steve Lance. Here's a look at some of the stories we're covering for you today. And right before the holiday season, infections and hospitalizations of the coronavirus are rising again across the country. President Biden and Vice President Harris met with members of the White House COVID-19 response team on Thursday to discuss the latest developments related to the Omicron variant. The U.S. is facing double-digit cases surging as Omicron spreads quickly into at least 36 states throughout the country. Hospitalizations also continue to climb as staffing shortages persist. The U.S. Health and Human Services says that over 67,000 people are hospitalized with COVID-19, which is 40% higher than just a month ago. According to Johns Hopkins University, there are nearly 119,000 new cases every day, which is 40% higher than a month ago. The average number of deaths reported is around 1,300, a 12% increase compared to just a month ago. The Senate is giving the green light to a new addition to the National Defense Authorization Act, or NDAA. The measure would forbid the Defense Department from dishonorably discharging military members whose only offense would be refusing to get vaccinated. Kansas Senator Roger Marshall, who introduced the bill, said that he supports the vaccine, but also those who defend our freedoms. He says that a dishonorable discharge treats our heroes as felons and that American heroes deserve better. The amendment to the NDAA wouldn't protect troops who opt not to get the jab from being discharged altogether. Instead, it would permit them to be discharged honorably. Dishonorable discharges have historically been reserved for the most reprehensible offenses. The bill now moves to President Biden's desk, and it remains to be seen whether he will sign it into law. And coming up, a new wave of sanctions is coming down on Beijing. The U.S. government has put investment and export restrictions on dozens of Chinese companies, while the Senate passes a bill targeting the CCP's forced labor practices. And with the 2022 Beijing Olympic Games just around the corner and most major countries around the world conducting a diplomatic boycott, will this stop the Chinese regime from being the most egregious human rights violator on the planet? Congressman Pat Fallon weighs in. Former First Lady Melania Trump has launched a virtual platform to showcase blockchain art for purchase as NFTs, otherwise known as non-fungible tokens. Proceeds will include funding for foster children in their education in computer science. Brain control technology. The term sounds like a science fiction exclusive, but in the latest sanctions imposed on China by the United States, the U.S. says China is trying to weaponize it. The U.S. is blacklisting dozens of Chinese research institutes over human rights abuses and biotechnology development that undermine U.S. national security. The Commerce Department has added China's Academy of Military Medical Sciences and its 11 research institutes to the export blacklist. Officials say these institutes use biotechnology to support the Chinese military and repress ethnic and religious groups. The communist regime sponsors research on gene editing, human performance enhancement, and brain-machine interfaces. This move bars American companies from selling components to these entities without a license. The Treasury Department has also put investment restrictions on 8 Chinese tech firms, including the world's largest commercial drone maker, DJI. The Treasury blames them for supporting the biometric surveillance and tracking of Uyghurs in China's Xinjiang province. And those were only part of the sanctions handed down to Beijing on Thursday. The U.S. Senate passed a bill banning all imports from China's Xinjiang region, unless businesses can prove they were produced without forced labor. The Senate sent the bill to President Joe Biden. The White House states that the Biden administration will be working closely with Congress to implement this bill and hold China accountable for genocide. A version of the bill passed the House and Senate with overwhelming approval from both parties. But federal record shows Apple's lobbying firm opposed the bill. Apple, like Nike and other corporations with links to China, say they've found no sign of forced labor from the Xinjiang region. One of the most bipartisan issues on the Hill may very well be the issue of China and its ongoing human rights abuses. With the Beijing Olympics just around the corner and President Biden ordering a diplomatic boycott, we spoke to Texas Congressman Pat Fallon to get his take. Congressman Pat Fallon, thank you so much for joining us on the Capitol Report.
Steve, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Now, Congressman, President Biden has recently ordered a diplomatic boycott of the Beijing Olympics. Some people say that this is a good step. There's others that say that it's not enough. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's only taken 10 months, but there is something that Joe Biden did that I actually agree with. But it's not, let's be really honest about what it is. It's symbolism at its best, at best rather. You have, I don't want to punish the athletes. I don't think in 1980 when we boycotted the Moscow Olympics, it really did much, quite frankly. What the Soviets ended up being in Afghanistan for almost the greater part of a decade.
Now, I'm going to ask you about Taiwan in just a second here. But when it comes to the boycott, do you think that it might have a bigger impact if the athletes, because the games will go on, if they were to, make different gestures throughout the events, talking about the human rights abuses, and forcing this into the global spotlight? Our fellow Bostonian or Massachusetts person, Enes Kanter, the Boston Celtic, who's been very outspoken. So, he could be leading the way in maybe sparking some ideas for some of the athletes while they're in Beijing.
Enes Kanter is a hero, and not only because I like the Boston Celtics, but because he has said, you know what, I'm going to do what's right, and I'm going to advocate, even if it has a cost to me personally, which it clearly does. And you see other athletes like LeBron James, he is a quote-unquote social warrior, but in the United States, but he is silent on China. So when it seems to cost him money, he doesn't want to, doesn't want to enter into the political foray. But when he actually can make money, like a Colin Kaepernick, he's actually made and monetized his activism. That really takes separates the wheat from the chaff, if you will.
Now, coming back to Taiwan, you sponsored a resolution condemning China's aggression toward Taiwan. They've recently flown warplanes, very close to the island. What do you make of this aggression? Are they planning an attack? Are they testing the United States, or what do you make of this?
Yeah, we filed HCON 56, and what it did, as I mentioned before, was it guaranteed Taiwanese security and sovereignty. So what China's intentions are, hard to say, but I do think they definitely probe constantly, and they react to strength and they react to weakness. And what we need Joe Biden to do, and any future American president, is to say, listen, we're all about engaging, we're all about really, again, more of a de facto détente, but if you use aggression, particularly to cross those 100 miles to attack Taiwan, then you're going to have a hot war with us.
Now, you co-sponsored legislation to prohibit certain CCP members from entering the United States in response to the stealing of United States intellectual property. Tell us a little bit about your bill, and if it passed, what impact it might have.
Well, the espionage that the Chinese have, they're very good at it. The Soviets were very good at it as well. And it's not only just with geopolitical and national security issues, it's also economics and our intellectual property, patent theft as well. That's one thing that President Trump, he was very good on China, as you know, and that was one of the things that he emphasized, was he wanted the patent theft to cease and desist as well. So we need to be putting teeth behind this stuff and not just words. Beijing's very smart about, that's just words so they can cater to their electorate, but it doesn't do anything to us. When Joe Biden parroted exactly what Xi Jinping would have wanted him to say, which was a strong China is in the best interest of the United States, I was horrified. I almost vomited. I said, no, it's not. A free China is in the best interest of the United States and the rest of the world, but not a strong China ruled by a handful of men in Beijing. That's not in the best interest, quite frankly, of their country or the world at large.
Congressman Pat Fallon, thank you.
Oh, thanks so much, Steve. Appreciate it. God bless.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says members of Congress should not be banned from trading individual stocks. This comes after a Business Insider report claims that dozens of congressional members have violated laws against insider trading, mostly because they didn't report their trades on time. In light of the report, a reporter asked Pelosi Wednesday whether members of Congress should be barred from stock trades. The Speaker of the House didn't agree.
We are a free market economy. They should be able to participate in that.
And former First Lady Melania Trump has ventured into the realm of non-fungible tokens, otherwise known as NFTs, on a new platform powered by Parler. She released her first token with plans to continue in regular intervals through her new platform, melaniatrump.com. Part of the proceeds will go to funding education for foster children to improve their skills in computer science as well as programming and software development. NFTs are digital assets that use blockchain technology to record the ownership status of digital objects. The rising popularity in non-fungible tokens, or NFTs, prompted Collins Dictionary to pick NFT as its word of the year. Washington, D.C. is the 5th best city for young professionals in the country. This is according to an analysis by Rent.com. Ranking the top 50 cities throughout the country, the study looked at demographics, recreation, and rent-to-income ratio. D.C. scored high for nightlife and public transportation, which makes the city attractive and affordable. Nearby Alexandria, Virginia was ranked 15th, while New York City did not even make the list. With Christmas quickly approaching, U.S. Marines are collecting last-minute toys for tots at Washington, D.C.'s Union Station. Union Station is not as busy as it was before the pandemic, but 1 week before Christmas, travel is starting to pick up, and the U.S. Marines are inviting people to join their last efforts before Christmas arrives for the Toys for Tots campaign.
We're trying to motivate, just try to bring in joy to all the kids around D.C. area. So, I mean, it's a joy to always see a toy at Christmas. Right now we're at 28,000 kids we're distributing toys to.
During the holidays, there's a lot of hustle and bustle, but some still stop by, hoping their donations will make a difference.
I just donated money to the community, to the kids, so I gave them $10, guys, $10. And it's a pandemic, so you know I did something right.
I know from my own experience, I mean, you see a toy under the tree, you get a burst of joy, it's happiness. So every donation is awesome for us.
And that's all we have for you on the Capitol Report today. I'm your host, Steve Lance. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.